a momentous hour in world history. This is the invasion of Hitler's Europe, the 0 hour of the Second Front. The men of General Dwight Eisenhower are leaving their landing barges, fighting their way up the beaches into the fortress of
This Battle of Normandy wasn't just a battle. It is at Normandy that the German plans for European conquest die. Once the Normandy landing occurs, there is no way for a separate peace or a partial victory for Hitler. He has now forces storming towards Berlin from both sides, and once the Americans have landed, Stalin is sufficiently reassured that we are working together, that he does not strike a separate peace or come to a negotiated settlement with the then flailing Third Reich. Frank Denius joins the military at age 17. He's from Athens, Texas, and he's a student at a military school at the time of the Pearl Harbor attack. The Army sends him to the Citadel, where he learns how to become a forward observer for the artillery. This is a very specific and dangerous job. In order to fire artillery, someone has to see where it's going to land, and those people are called forward observers. To do this, he and one other person had to lug around a 100-pound radio and set up an antenna while under fire so that they could then look, which is very dangerous, at the front lines and make those adjustments. Denius is a member of the 230th Field Artillery, which is part of the 30th Infantry Division, Old Hickory. They don't land in the first waves on Normandy, they land that night, and the fighting begins for him on the next day, the morning of the 7th. What followed after the beachhead was finally consolidated was a month-long battle called the Battle for Normandy. It only ends after a massive aerial bombardment, and Frank Denius was right in the middle of it. Denius wasn't the only one who saved the day, but he was absolutely essential because of those forward observation calls, bringing in the artillery that effectively stopped the German advance.
Our travel program is called the Flying Longhorns, and it's actually been around since 1961. We have about 1,500 people every year that choose to travel with us. We have about 80 trips that depart each year, so it's a really fun, wonderful program with an amazing community. 2024 is the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and our travelers are always really excited to travel to Normandy and to go to the American Cemetery and to be close to that special, meaningful place. But we have seen so much interest this year. We've had 4 trips, I believe, that have departed for the sole purpose of paying respects to the, bravery and memory of everything that happened in Normandy on June the 6th and then beyond. There are people who have very close ties to D-Day, grandparents, parents who, served and have real personal connections to that place. And then there are also people who have read, about Eisenhower and Churchill their entire lives, and to have known about D-Day always and studied it for so many years, and then to be in the place where it actually happened. It's just makes, of course, the history and really the bravery that we've all learned about for so many years. It just, comes alive in a totally new and amazing way.
I think that Normandy is important for understanding the Cold War. It's important for understanding this alliance of democracies that decides it will stand up to dictators and use the blood and treasure of its youth to do so. I think it's something that Frank Denius understood and that we try to drive home constantly in the Normandy Scholars Program, that defending democracy requires tenacity. It requires resolve, and you can find no better symbol of that tenacity and resolve than what happened in the Battle for Normandy.